Hey y'all, Rowan here. Today I am going to be starting a new series on my channel. I would like to explore capsule collections within my larger tarot and oracle and playing card deck collection, and I would like to share those capsule collections with y'all. So today we are going to be doing they're going to be themed, right? Like each capsule collection is going to have some type of theme that will be hopefully very cutely worded. But today we're going to be doing our emo kid capsule collection. Now, I was a 90s baby and I grew up in the early 2000s, and so by the time I was rolling through middle school and high school, the emo movement was in full swing. And I was definitely an emo little brat, and I would like to show off some decks that speak to that side of my personality. So the first one and most obvious one that I want to show for this is the Wild Unknown Tarot, not the Archetypes, but the Tarot. So we're going to have 3 Tarot decks and 3 Oracle decks. This is our first tarot deck. Now, this is a massively popular deck, so I'm sure everyone is familiar with it. This is the mass market edition. I was not cool enough to be hippin' with the tarot crowd when this was indie. I love this deck. I use it for shadow work and for mostly just like different aspects of shadow work, really. I use it for my own readings and for other people. I'm not centered, excuse me. I love this deck. It's great. It doesn't get a whole lot of use from me because I've got several decks now that are in my shadow work rotation, and so this one gets reached for when I want this specific wild shadow energy. But it's really good for everything that I've used it for in my relationship with it. It's a pip deck, it's an animal deck, it's naturey, it's dark, it's moody, it's edgy, it takes itself not too seriously, but it also doesn't give you a lot to work with, so it says you have to work to know me. This deck is thoroughly enjoyable, and it really captures my idea of who I was as an emo teen. Another tarot deck that I think is really, really emo is in this red bag here. This is the Tarot of Vampyres with a Y. This deck I did edge in red, so I colored these edges red. They didn't come like that. This deck is very Interview with a Vampire. It's very underworld. It's very, I mean, like, it's just got Anne Rice aesthetic all over it, and it's campy. It's thothy. It's just, I love it, and my stepbrother probably loves it as well. I think he's into tarot. I haven't talked to him in a long time. We kind of mind our own business. Love him to death, though, but I think he's into tarot as well, and he probably, if he does not have this deck, that is a mistake on his part, because he was even more into vampires than I was. I was not super into vampires. I was more into werewolves. But yeah, this deck speaks to that emo, fantasy emo nerd aspect of the emo kid oeuvre. Alright, and then finally, I wanted something that tapped into almost like the skater aspect of the emo crowd. This is an aspect of emo subculture that I think is widely ignored in today's culture because skateboarding is not as popular as it once was. These days it's all about like rollerblading, which is cool, don't get me wrong, rollerblades are like dope as fuck, but I wanted something that tapped into that more, I don't know, that skate park energy, and the deck that I have in my collection that best exemplifies that is, oh, one moment here, fighting with it, the Bianco Nero. I have cut mine down, so it used to have a border that made it a little bit bigger and had rounded corners. I cut that off to make it pointy, and to get rid of the borders. This is one of the oldest deck. This is the oldest deck. Well, second oldest deck in my collection. I love it. 2 bits. Let me get y'all a little bit closer in. It's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, but it's in black and white. It's edgy, it's Visconti, it's sexy, it's sensual, and something about it just really speaks to the attitude of every skater boy that I knew when I was growing up. It really captures that energy for me. It's a little bit more adult than what I associate with being an emo kid, but if you were an emo kid, you understand that you thought you were an adult. Your suffering was so big, your pain and torment was so big that you could only assume you were older than your years. And in that way, this deck kind of does bring that to the table. So, boop, 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 boop. Alrighty. And then we have 3 Oracle decks. So the first Oracle deck is probably the most obvious. We've already brought out one of this artist's works, and I did mention this, but that's going to be the Archetypes Oracle from Kim Kranz, the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle. This is the pocket version. I used to have the big version, but I gave that to my brother-in-law when I got the little one because I like the little one so much better. The colors are more vibrant, and while you cannot... like, the cards feel fuller because they are smaller. And I think that it's really fun to shuffle the little one as compared to the big one, which was a pain in the ass to shuffle. I maintained that it could be done, and to this day I do hold to that opinion. However, the little one is much more fun to shuffle. Not necessarily easier, but more fun by far. So this deck is done in Kim Kranz's signature line art style, but with an added flair of collage. It's, how do I put this? Almost pretentious. Like, I love this deck to the moon and back. If you've watched any videos on my channel, you know this is one of my favorite decks in my collection, and there's a reason I've bought it twice. I'm happy to have purchased it twice, and quite frankly, if I had more storage space, I may have kept the big version of it, right? I like it that much. But this little pocket version is just so convenient. I want to carry it with me everywhere, so I have this one. Anyways, this deck is so pretentious, but it means every bit of it, right? So you can't even say that it's pretense, I guess. It's just that this deck is nerdy, almost. Yeah, I guess that's really what it comes down to. This deck is a fucking nerd, and I want to shove it into a closet, but it's a nerd that also wears black eyeliner, and for that, it is included in my emo kid decks, right? Next up, we have the Sacred Symbols for Divination and Meditations Oracle deck. This is a little bit less on the nose emo and a little bit more multifunctional. It aesthetically and energetically matches with the emo kid vibe without being expressly emo. It does adhere to our color palette of black, white, and red, although this version has been edged in gold by myself. But this deck is minimalist, and it deals with overarching symbols and symbology, and most of the emo kids I knew were obsessed with some kind of branch of the occult. Not necessarily magic per se, but for example, I did have one friend who was an emo kid who was a Wiccan. She was my bestest friend in the whole wide world for a very, very long time. I also had an emo kid friend that was obsessed with Egypt lore and history. I had a friend, I was the friend who was really into Greek mythology, especially in middle school. And like every emo I knew had an occult niche that they were into. And so this deck sort of speaks to that aspect of the emo kid experience. And finally, this one taps back into our more fantasy world, but this is like dark fantasy. This is for all of the emo kids who got started on their emo kid path reading not necessarily Harry Potter, but perhaps Charlie Bone. And that is the Citadel Fantasy Oracle. I think this also is something that could speak to the emo kids who read the Uglies series by... Ooh, Scott Westerfeld? Oh, I'm so close. I just know it. Westerfeld, something like that. But this, it's black, white, red, and copper. It's line art. It's like the most elegant doodles you've ever seen in your life. This speaks to all the artsy-fartsy emo kids I knew who drew their pain away. In addition to other not-so-good coping mechanisms that we're not going to talk about today. But this deck, it just really speaks to several specific friends that I had growing up, and I love it, and it deserves more use in my collection. So it is being roped in today for our little capsule collection that we're making here. So over the next couple of days, I want to film some more videos with these cards where I use them all interchangeably. And honestly, I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll make maybe 2 or 3 videos, at least 2, shooting for 3 videos about these cards that I will then upload here over the course of the next calendar month. And then we'll do my next collection after that, right? Why am I asking y'all? That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. Ha ha ha. Alright, this is not a long video. Just wanted to pop on here and show off these cards. We're gonna be working with them together. We're gonna really get into some Thoth, some Rider-Waite, and this one kind of does its own thing, although it is loosely based on Rider-Waite. So we're gonna get a little bit more freaky-deaky with our interpretations of this bad boy here. And by freaky-deaky, I mean numerological, baby. Ooh, sexy. Yeah, show me your Arabic numerals. God, I'm not even drinking today. All right, I love you all. Mwah. Bye.